Hello and welcome to Thought for the Day. My name's Elian and I'm a member of St Peter's Halliwell in Bolton. When I was asked to contribute some thoughts about my favourite Bible passage, I found it very difficult. Not because I don't have one, but because how do you pick a few verses from a collection of books as rich as the Bible? What passage should I choose? During my life, many passages have been important to me at different times, often depending on the circumstances I happen to be in at the time. But I finally made a decision. I've chosen the opening verses of Psalm 139. Perhaps you'd like to pause the video and read verses 1 to 16. To explain why I've chosen this passage, I need to go back in time. At the age of 13, I came close to cutting off my left arm in an accident with a circular saw. Both my arm and my life were saved by the ministrations of an excellent NHS surgeon, who was a little taken aback when he was first examining the fairly horrific wound that I'd inflicted, as his patient kept asking him to explain what all of the internal structures that had become visible actually were. This was the start of a lifelong interest in human physiology, which I went on to study at university. I was once asked whether physiology is the study of carbonated drinks, but I prefer the following definition from the University of Oregon. Human physiology is the science of the mechanical, physical and biochemical function of humans, and serves as the foundation of modern medicine. As a discipline, it connects science, medicine and health, and creates a framework for understanding how the human body adapts to stresses, physical activity and disease. So you'll not be surprised that the particular verse that resonates with me in Psalm 139 is verse 14, which reads, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well." So as I've said, I was trained as a scientist and in fact carried out medical research in the early part of my career. But as a fairly young Christian, my faith was becoming challenged by those who argued that science had all the answers. It was suggested that true scientists should also be atheists. I wanted to make sure that I hadn't committed intellectual suicide by becoming a Christian. However, it gradually dawned on me that although science could tell me a great deal, it couldn't answer every question. So although I love science, it wasn't complete. It could tell me how something worked, but not what it meant. I wanted more than the partial account of reality that science offers, a richer picture of reality that would weave together understanding and meaning. The Spanish philosopher Jose Ortega y Gasset put it like this: "Scientific truth is characterised by its precision and the certainty of its predictions. But science achieves these admirable qualities at the cost of remaining on the level of secondary concerns, leaving ultimate and decisive questions untouched." This of course doesn't mean that we should abandon science. It simply means that we should see its limitations as well as its strengths. So let's go back to Psalm 139 and look at our verse in context. The psalm is divided into 4 sections of 6 verses each, and in each section the psalmist poses a question about himself in relationship to God. So in the first section he asks, "How well does God know me?" And the answer comes in the first verse, "You search me, Lord, and you know me." The Hebrew word translated as searched here is to dig. So we could say that God digs deep into us to fully understand us. This is developed further in the following verses, where we learn that God knows everything we do and think. God knows about our habits and choices. God is concerned about us. In the second set of 6 verses, the writer is exploring the question, how near is God to me? Or to put it another way, can I escape from God? The conclusion is simple, and we see it elsewhere in the Bible. God owns and runs his universe, and there's no escaping from his presence. In the third paragraph, the psalmist is telling us about his observations about the design of his body. He's examining himself and he's amazed by the vitality and complexity that he finds. So this leaves us with a contrast. There's a worldly view that tells us that we're struggling mortals on an obscure planet located in a second-rate galaxy among billions of other galaxies in a vast universe. The complexity that we see in creation and in our own bodies has occurred completely by chance. Such an outlook tends to make us feel very insignificant. It contrasts sharply with the biblical view of man and his relationship with the God of creation, a God who knows everything about us, so there's no point in pretending to be something that we're not. A God who's chosen to reveal himself to us in order to tell us how much he loves and cares about us. And yes, scientists can be Christians without committing intellectual suicide. Many of our leading scientists, including my professor in my physiology department, are. This psalm reminds me of who God is and the vastness and intricacy of his creation. I see a God who knows us better than we know ourselves, who cares deeply about us and who's taken the initiative in creation by bringing the universe and its contents into existence. He's also taken the initiative in salvation, revealing himself to us throughout history and sending his Son to bring his rebellious people back into relationship with him. It helps me to make sense of the world by giving me a way of seeing reality which affirms both its intelligibility and coherence, a framework which allows me to discern meaning and purpose to life. Someone said recently it's the difference between seeing the world in black and white or in full, glorious colour. So are you seeing reality in full colour? If not, I'd invite you to do some digging yourself. Look into the claims of Christianity seriously, rather than simply accepting the strident ridicule of the atheists. And if you accept that God exists and count yourself as a Christian, what is your level of commitment to him? Do we sometimes treat God as someone we can ignore when it suits us? Someone we expect to be at our beck and call? Let's remember that God is the all-powerful creator of a vast and incredibly complex universe that we are only just beginning to understand, who loves us and entrusts us to do his work on earth. Isn't that an amazing thought? How should we respond? Thank you for listening.